So we said that we have 5 places of articulation, خلاص? And each place of articulation has a specific places of articulation. We finished al-jawf, we finished the throat, and we started on the tongue last time. خلاص? So, just a reminder, okay? We actually explained the parts we're going to use for the tongue. خلاص? So what we said, we have the root of the tongue, which kha comes from. We talked about the furthest part of the tongue, which is the qaf and the kaf. We talked about the middle part of the tongue. We talked about the tip of the tongue. And then we talked about the edge. And we said the edge comes from, the dad comes from it, right? Okay, obviously this is a review, so I'm going a little too quickly. But basically we went through the different parts of the tongue. Why are we going through it? Because I'm going to use these words to actually describe what the thing is for. And every time I describe again, I'm going to probably come back to that picture again. So basically I have the root of the tongue, I have the furthest part with the qaf and the kaf, the middle part of the tongue, which is the jim, shin, ya, and then the tip of the tongue. We also have the edge where harf al-dad actually comes from. Does that make sense? We talked about the teeth as well. We said the first 2 is the central incisors. And we said the only thing you should worry about is the molars and the premolar. The premolar is one of the most important ones to know because dad, when you press on the dad, you actually start from the premolar and go to the molars, right? And in harf al-lam, which we're going to start today, you're also going to see that the premolar is going to define where the makhraj is from. So the premolar is like kind of like the middle, you know, the middle path between the beginning of the upper palate and the back of the upper palate. So the premolar is kind of defining that middle path. In harf al-dad, you press here and you only touch here. Harf al-lam, which we're going to explain today, goes only into the premolar and through it. And we're going to explain it today. So the most important part of the teeth that I want you to know and to actually figure out where it is in your mouth is the premolar. And obviously it's the 2 central incisors, but these are not generally a problem. خلاص? Then we went out to the upper palate. We talked about the soft palate because of the qaf. We talked about the intersection of the soft and the hard. I don't know if that's actually the intersection. I think it is. And then we talked about the hard palate. And then we talked about the gums. Okay? Now, the qaf, we said, is the furthest part of the tongue with the soft palate. The qaf is the furthest part with the intersection. Then we talked about jim, sheen, and ya. Right? Jim, sheen, and ya. We talked about which one comes first. Right? We said that ya is the most back, sheen is in the middle, and ya is the most, and jim is the most closest to the mouth. خلاص? Then we talked about dad for a really good amount of time. And we said, see the premolars right there? Right? The premolars right there. From the premolar, after, you press. Before the premolar, you touch. Right? So that's the premolar right there. Okay? And now we begin. Just before we begin, okay, before we begin, we have to remind what are we doing. We talked about the relationship between the feeling, the sound, and the description. So what did we say? We said you have to know where the feeling comes from. When I said qa, you have to feel exactly what is the soft palate. Because when I use the word soft palate, it doesn't make sense. So we talked about that you have to start feeling it. Well, how do I know that I'm right? You could use the sound. So you know how the qaf sounds from a good reciter. Qa. So when you try it yourself and you hear you saying ka, and it goes a little to the front, you know from our description before that if I push my tongue a little backwards, I will reach and say qa. That's what's the description important about. If I say to you, the further part of the tongue with the upper palate, with the soft palate, unintelligible. But when I know that the kaf is in front and the qaf in the back, and the more I come back, the more it sounds like a qaf, when I actually try to do it and say ka, and it gets a mixture, I know what to do. I just have to push back. I have to push back. So this is the combination of the feeling that you're getting, plus the description, plus the sound. If you can have like if you have like a relation between them, and if you notice the one, you notice the other, you will easily get to know how to fix your problems with letters. Does that make sense? Okay? So, lam. What is lam? Lam is the closest part, the closest part of the edge. You can say that. The closest part of the edge with what corresponds with it, with the upper palate. So, let's go back to the dad scenario. Do I have the picture here? No, I don't. So, let's go back to the dad scenario. The lam is literally that part. The part that we don't press on in dad. The makhraj of the lam is the part that we don't press on in dad. Does that make sense? So the yellow part. So let me remove it again. So this yellow area, starting from the premolar to the central incisors, this area is the area of lam. L. Okay? This is the now, the description says the closest part of the edge with what corresponds with it, with the upper palate, right? What is the closest part of the edge? It's right there, right? So basically this whole area is the lam, from here to here. Both sides, both edges, it's not one edge, right? So both edges. So this whole area, from here to here, is the makhraj of the lam from the tongue's perspective, right? From the upper palate perspective, that's where it is. So does that make sense? So the lam, basically, this is my tongue. This is the area, this whole edge, I'm using it. And the upper palate from the premolars to the other premolar. All of this area. How do I do it? I say L. Lam is very easy, right? Description is a bit hard. Description is a bit tough. But this is how our scholars they described the lam. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions with that? Is it confusing? Confusing? No? So, from the premolar gums, I use gums like the premolar next to it, to the central incisors gums, right? The whole area. From both sides, obviously. It's not, you don't use L, you do both sides. Okay? Very good. The noon. The noon is very simple. From the tip of the tongue, with what? With the gums of the central incisors. And or with the gums corresponding to it. I think that's the proper word to say it. And with the noon, there's something different about the noon. Khalas? I want to try this. Close your nose and just say and. So the noon actually does not happen without the nose. So the Shaykh says it has 50% from the tongue, 50% from the tongue, and 50% from the nose. So because I cannot create the sound of the noon without the ghunnah. Okay, if I cannot create the sound of the noon without the ghunnah, why do I need the tongue? So try to do it without the tongue. Right? So without the tongue, I have just ghunnah, which is min qabl or man kana. This actually man kana. So when we have the ikhfa thing, right? Man kana. You only have the sound from the nose, but you don't have the tongue part. So you say man kana, You add the tongue, then you get the noon. Man kana. So the noon, 50% comes from the nose, and 50% comes from the tongue. It has these parts. Okay, what is the word ghunna? Ghunna, 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 ghunna. Every time you're going to learn tajweed, add ghunna, remove ghunna. What is ghunna? Ghunna is very simple. A sound that comes from the nasal cavity, from the nose. That's it. And the sound stops. Why? Because the sound comes from the nasal cavity. So what actually happens, the sound goes inside and gets out from the nose. So the ghunna is a sound that emits from the nasal cavity. That's it. So when someone tells you add ghunna, elongate that sound. That's it. Man kana. If someone says remove the ghunna, what do? You stop the sound from the nose. Let's stop here a little bit with the ghunna a little bit. Why? Because most people recite the Quran with nose the whole time. Khalas? And this is one of the most difficult problems. How do I remove, we call it nasalization. How do I remove the nasal sound of Quran? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman. At some point, he's only using his nose. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Nose. The only two letters that you're allowed to use your noses is the noon and the meme. And if we say so in other places in Tajweed. Other than that, there's no nose. So what? Sorry? So if you actually add ghunna in other letters, you're actually incorrect. You're actually saying the letter incorrectly. The only two letters that have the nose is the meme and the noon. That's it. Right? Okay. Hazm, I always have nasalization when I speak like this. I always speak like this, I have a problem, I cannot speak, but this is how I speak. First of all, generally, people who have problems with nasalization are low-voiced people. They speak with a low voice. Why? Why? Because they actually compensate their low voice with the nasal. Say, how are you doing, man? This is are you okay? Are you okay? So the more you lower your voice, generally people compensate with their nose. So if you increase your voice, naturally, your nasalization is gonna stop. Okay? I'm gonna tell you practices how to fix it. Then I tell you what actually physically happens for what actually happens when nasalization happens and when nasalization doesn't happen. One practice you can do is this. This one I do. I do like this, and if I do like this, I do nasalization. If I close, I stop it. Actually, it's the other way around. If I do like this, I don't do it. If I do like this, I do nasalization. Okay? So I say what this is gonna practice your control of it. Try it. Okay? This is one way you can fix nasalization. Okay? One other way to fix nasalization is, my sheikh told me, if you don't understand this, because some people don't understand it, it's fine. I'm just telling you different techniques, right? Keep the sound going down. And I'll explain why actually that works when I explain what actually happens. This is gonna all make sense when I explain what actually happens. But keep the sound going down. If you go like, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman. If I push the sound down, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. If you understand what pushing the sound down means, it's going to help you. People have problems generally with what does that even mean. What I'm saying is try going up, and then you're going to hear the nasalization going crazy. If you put it down, if the sound just goes a little down, the nasalization kind of stops. Okay, why does that make sense? Let's actually explain what happened. So now I want you to look at this part here. Okay, this part here. I wish I had better pictures. Yes.
So is it high pitch versus low pitch?
No, I can go high pitch without my nose. It's not too high pitch, but I can do it. But it's not high pitch, low pitch. I'm saying generally, when a person speaks in low volume, they compensate. Like they say, "How are you doing?" And when they speak low, they actually compensate with their nose. But it's not high pitch low. You can go high pitch without your nose at all. I think high pitch is a throat thing, is a vocal cords thing, right? So no, it's not that. When I say push the sound out, I mean the actual waves, like the actual, like when you speak. I don't know how to explain it, but try it. Try to push the sound to the top, and you're gonna go like, "How are you doing? This is very important," and you're gonna find yourself pushing down. If you push the sound down, you're gonna find that the waves don't, the nasalization kind of stops. Okay, let me explain what actually happens. It could give you a hint what that means, okay? What actually happens is this. Okay. So, keep. Okay, and then we enter again. What is this? Sorry. Okay. Now, what actually happens is this. Now, look at this muscle right here. Look at this muscle right here. If the muscle is open, the sound will go from the throat and go out here. Again, if the muscle here, this muscle, is open, the sound will go and will go from the nose. What actually happens when you actually speak is generally this closes. This muscle on the top actually comes back and closes. And maybe at the end of the class, I'll find a video of a movement. You will actually find the muscle here at the top actually closes that part and the sound going there. Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Samir? And so generally what happens is when you try to fake the sound going upward, you actually open that naturally. When you actually fake trying to push down, the muscle actually goes back naturally. But the actual thing is the muscle. All of these techniques they're not the reason. The reason is actually that muscle pushing back. Now, if you can feel that muscle, that's insane. I don't feel it, I barely feel it. But if you feel that muscle, you'll actually know when you actually close it and open it, right? That's actually what happens. Okay? Does that make sense? A little bit? I will try to find you a video. I should have done that. To actually show you when the letter is actually spoken, the back of this area actually goes back and closes, so the sound does not go through. Does that make sense? Okay? So now, coming back to the techniques, when I do, I actually kind of feel this thing moving. And the more your nerves hit a little bit and they wake up, you kind of start feeling it. Okay? It's hard to feel, but you don't have to feel it. I'm saying the techniques help as well. You can do that one. You can push the sound a little down as well. These are all techniques to do it. Okay? Does that make sense? But basically what happens is that this muscle moves backward, closes, so the sound does not actually come through from the nose. Any questions? Okay? This is generally one of the biggest problems people have, so that's why I wanted to spend a decent amount of time with. Right? Okay. Another big problem. All of these are problems generally. Okay. The explanation is very easy. From the tip of the tongue with what corresponds of it with the gums. Okay? Okay, what's the problem with ra? The problem with ra is there's a lot of problems with ra. But one major one is this thing called takreer. Okay? What is takreer? Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, there's a lot of difference of opinion. I'm telling you what I learned. What I learned is 0 takreer or 1 takreer. Okay? So how does one takrir sound like? Ar, 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 ar-Rahmanir Rahim, ar-Rahmanir Rahim, ar-Rah. You shudder once, and then you stop the takrir. Hazim, how do I stop the takrir? Big problem. Now, I'll try to explain it. Your tongue is like this, right? Your tongue is like this, right? If it's flat, if it's completely flat, it hits and it just goes like this. Right? It shudders. So if your tongue is flat here, it keeps shuddering. What actually happens is, and don't think of it when you're doing it, or think of it, I don't know. Because if you think of it, generally it doesn't work. But you kind of curve your tongue to make a gap. So your tongue kind of curves a little bit to make a gap, and the air flows so you don't need to shudder anymore. So, the air is flowing. I'm staying in the same spot, by the way. I didn't roll my tongue. I didn't say arr. I didn't roll my tongue. I'm in the same spot. I'm in the same area I'm saying ra from. Ra. Arr. All I'm doing is, I'm allowing some air through. I'm allowing some air, some gap for the takrir to stop. Now, this is only relevant when it's sukoon or shadda. When it's fatha, ra, hit it, do like that and hit it, and life is good. Rabbil alameen, ra ruri, عادي. خلاص؟ ra ruri. The problem when it's sukoon, fir'aun. I did takrir there, but fir'aun. I'm doing takrir again. And it's shadda طبعا. Ar-Rahman. You hit once and then you do that. And you stay in the same spot. You don't leave the spot. So what happens is, this part and this part should hit, and the middle should not hit because there's a gap. So you're still there and you're still hitting up. You're still there. It's just that middle part here, the middle part of your tongue is down there, and there's a gap. Okay? Obviously, very important point, because we're going a little too technical. People who do this are like the best, right? Like the best reciters. This is like the good reciters here, is like that's what they do, right? If you do takrir, if it's not too much, like if it's not insane, yani life is easy. Say Ar-Rahman, but the problem is now, if you roll your tongue, you say Ar-Rahman, no, the British, Ronaldo, ra. No, it's not raw, because you're not actually hitting. You're not even there. You're actually back there. You're not hitting anything. I'm actually telling you to hit ra, ru, ri. And when you do the shadda, you stay there, but your tongue just folds a little bit. So there's a gap. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. I'm there. I didn't move. All I did, I didn't move my makhraj. I didn't move where I'm hitting in the top of the palate. I'm still there. All I'm doing is the gap. Yeah? If you try it. Okay? Two big problems today, unfortunately. But this is what life is here. Any questions with that? Again, my sheikh told me either 0 takrir or 1 takrir. And he told me, I didn't understand what that meant. So he said, you know what? I'm going to go to the sheikh who says 0 takrir and recite in front of them. And he said, mashallah. And he said, he went to the sheikh that said 1 takrir, and he did the exactly same thing. And they said, mashallah. So he's like, well, what's up, you know? So what I think it is that you do 1 shuddering. That's my understanding of what 1 takrir is. What I try to do is to do 1 takrir, because if you do ar, it's very hard to start with it. But if you go there once and then you move, it's very easy. But you never leave the makhraj. It's not like you do once and then you come back. No, no. You stay there. Actually, you shudder once because you have to shudder. But I'm saying after you shudder, you come back. Okay? You shudder once and then you come back. But you stay in the same area. Okay? Too confusing? Anybody confused? Difficult? Okay, عادي. It's not, يعني no problem. Confused, you don't understand what's happening. عادي. عادي, no problem. We didn't see what just happened, it's fine. خلاص? I move on? Yes.
Can you give an example what zero takbir would look like?
Not no, immediately. So the takrir, that's zero takrir. One takrir will be ar. You hear the first one? Ar. You hear the first one. You hear one, and then ar. That would be one. Yeah? You hear it? No? Yeah. Ri. No, ra kasra, you just hit. No, you start with sukoon, and then you hit. Birri. Yeah.
You do Ar-Rahim with one takbir and with zero takbir?
Ar-Rahim is harder for me to do zero takbir. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. So that's one. Ar-Rahman, no. Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahim. Ar-Ra. It's very hard for me to do zero. But, you see? Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Ar-Ra, 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 Ar-Ra. That's why you stay there. If you couldn't stay there, how are you doing the second one? Like how are you doing the Ra? Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Okay? Make sense? Shadda make sense? Very good? Very good. Whew. Okay. Now, there is a heavy Ra and there's a light Ra. All right? So we say Fir'aun. I'm doing takrir so much, but anyway. Fir'aun. خلاص? And then there is Ra. There is Fir and there is Ra. So there is heavy Ra and there is light Ra. What's the difference between heavy and light? By the way, this is part of sifat. By the way, from here on out, you can ignore what I'm going to say until we go to the next letter. So you can, relax. I'm just giving you a note. Heavy letters, which we're going to learn when we talk about properties. When we talk about properties, we're going to talk about it. Heavy letters, the back of the tongue goes up. Light letters, the back of the tongue is down. We can explain what happens actually for that to happen. But generally, if the back of the tongue goes up generally, it's heavy. If the back of tongue down, it's light. So that when you say ar-ra, when it's heavy, ra, rabbuka. Obviously, I'm exaggerating. The back of the tongue goes up. When you say ri, or sukoon, fir, the back of the tongue is just straight. Like it's like that. Okay? You can ignore that part. But this theme will come a lot today. Back of the tongue goes up heavy, straight, not like lower or kasra or no. Light letter is not kasra. You don't say fir'aun, no. You say fir'aun. Light letters are not kasra. Okay? They're straight. Okay? That theme is going to come a lot today, which is in here. Okay. I should add breaks in this. I don't know, right? Should add breaks in this. Okay. Okay, let's do so ta, dal and ta. So ta, dal and ta, and then sad, zay and sin, and then Dha, Dhal, and Tha, they have very strong similarities. They're like triplets. And we're going to explain why they have similarities, okay? Okay, let's talk about Ta. Now, just say Da. Da. Now say Ta. Ta. Is there a difference between the makhraj of Dal? By the way, this is going to be from me, not from the book. But it's pretty, like, I'm pretty confident with it. But just putting the asterisk there. But say Da. Ta. Now, is there a difference between Dal and Ta? Not in the sound. I'm saying in the place of in where you put your tongue in. Not the sound. Obviously, the sound is different. Da. Ta. Is there a difference in the place of articulation? Is there a difference? Yes or no? So whoever says, do you guys want to try it or you want to give an answer? I don't know. Ta. Da. Okay, who says there is a difference in the place of articulation? You raised your hand or no? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Difference in the place of articulation? Okay, who says it's the same place of articulation? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the majority. It is different. Okay, it is different. And again, this is from me again, but I'm going to explain. It's very clear. Now look at here. Look at the... La ilaha illallah. Okay, look here. Look at the Dal. Look at the Ta. Let me actually remove the... Technology is too tough, man. Like, what is this? Okay. So, if you look at the Ta here, actually even the picture gives a little hint of that. The Ta actually uses way more of the tip than the Dal. When you say Da, 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 you use the tip, but you use a small part of it and a little to the front. When you say Ta, you actually use a decent amount. So the difference between Dal and Ta is not only heaviness, it's not only because you can actually because you can actually give heaviness to Ta. You can actually say Ta, 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 Ta. So what am I doing? I'm saying Ta, Ta, and then Ta. Ta, which is light Ta. Ta, which is heavier Ta. And then Ta. So what am I doing? I have a bit more of the tip hitting the upper palate. Again, I have a little bit more of the tip hitting the upper palate. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? So that's the difference between Dal and Ta. Dal and Ta and Ta. Okay? Do you guys feel that? Say Da. Da. Now say Ta. Ta. Now, if you feel that the Dal and the Ta are exactly the same, you're wrong. So we fix that. That's what, again, you have the feeling, you have the sound, and you have the description. Hazim, I don't feel what you're saying. You're probably wrong. Then we try to practice. Halas? Huh?
Put your tongue to make that, and then say thought, and your tongue will move.
Put what?
Like put your tongue like you're about to say that, and then say thought, and your tongue will move.
Oh, let's try that. Say Ta. Oh, good stuff. Okay, yeah, so put your tongue as if you're going to say Dal in your head, and then say Ta. And your mouth actually moves because it's not exactly the same place of the tongue that you hit with. That's actually you. That's good. Okay? Okay, so actually, let me actually explain where we're hitting, right? It's the tip of the tongue. It's the tip of the tongue with not the gums, not only the gums, with the roots of the upper central incisors. The noon is the gums. And the Ta and the Dal, you hit the roots as well. Okay? So the tip of the tongue with the roots of the central incisors. Okay? Make sense? Okay, Hazim. You told us the difference between Ta. What? Okay. The difference between Ta and Dal and Ta, obviously, is the difference we said, but also heaviness. Ta, the back of the tongue goes up, right? Now, I have a question. So we said ta is heaviness, that's why it's different from dal and ta. صح كده? What's the difference between dal and ta? It's the same picture.
That you don't touch the teeth, or like other way. One you touch the teeth, one you don't.
No, both you touch the teeth.
One of them just gets gone.
No, both you touch the teeth. Then move it up a little bit.
That you emit voice, you emit noise.
Yes.
Like that, your throat doesn't emit, like air doesn't move from your throat to create the noise. It's just that.
I know what you're saying, but you're not describing it the best.
You get what I mean?
I get what you mean. Yeah. It has to do with the air. So, remember the throat thing, the vocal cords vibration thing? Now say, actually it's very hard with the ta. But if you say at, do you feel any movement in the vocal cords? At, you don't feel anything, right? Now say da. It's slight because it's really quick, but there is slight vibrations in the vocal cord. Da. It's going to be very clear in the next triplet because that's actually the difference between the next triplet. But when the vocal cords vibrate, there's not a lot of air that comes out. When the vocal cords are not vibrating, there's a lot of air that gets emitting. That's why ta has a lot of air. Ta. Dal, da, sound, only sound. Ta, there's air that gets emitted. This comes in the properties. We're going to come back to this in the properties. But I'm telling you that the place of articulation alone cannot identify the letter. The place of articulation alone cannot identify the letter. I need something else, which is the properties, which is going to take after we finish this. Make sense? Okay. Yeah? Okay. Sad, Zay, and Sin. I'm going really too quickly. Are we good? Everybody with me? I'm going like a little too quickly, actually. Huh? Yeah. Everybody's okay? Everybody with me? With me? Okay. That's the second triplet right there. Let's first talk what is the place of articulation, and then let's talk about the difference. Here the place of articulation is exactly the same. Exactly. Sad, Zay, and Sin. What is the place of articulation? Now focus with me because most people don't even feel what they're doing when they say sa or when they say sin. They don't know what they're doing actually. Because it's actually very hard to feel. What am I doing? The end of the tip of the tongue with the bottom of the inner surface of the lower central incisors. What is that? This is the lower central incisor. The bottom one. I have two, right? I have one here, one tooth, and another. Halas? Where am I hitting? I'm hitting here. With the bottom of the inner surface of the central incisor. I'm hitting here. I'm hitting the tooth. Okay? So it's the tip of the tongue with what? The inner surface of the tooth. Now try to feel it. This thing is killing me, man. Okay, Bismillah. Now say zzz, zzz, zzz. It's the same spot. Actually, to actually make you believe it's the same spot, we'll do the same trick he did. Say sin, and then vibrate your vocal cords. Did you move your tongue? You didn't move your tongue, right? I didn't move my... Yeah? You tried it? Yeah? Hello? So basically, it's the same area. The sin and the zay is the same area. Okay? Now, it's very important. Now, Hazm, he says, the bottom of the inner surface. Yeah, very accurate. Very, يعني, bottom of the inner area. يعني, okay, what if I go up a little bit? يعني, what if I hit it here? يعني? Now hear this. I'm going to do it, okay? I'm going to do the correct, then I'm going to go up a little bit. it gets harder to get the same s sound. It gets harder to make the same sound. Again, this part is from me. It's not from the book, so I could be wrong, but you tried it, so it's not wrong. Right? But again, it's from me. It's not from the book. Okay. Okay. So if you actually move a bit higher, the sound it doesn't give you the same like whistling sound. خلاص? That's why you should try to stay down. Still gives whistling, but it's not. I don't feel it's as good as it is. Okay. Some people say hazm is not because you're hitting the middle. It's because the air hits more on the lips. A lot of the air hits on the lips, so because of that, you get that not whistling sound. That's also another explanation. I believe both are the reason. I could be wrong, but I believe both are the reason. If a lot of air goes through the inner lip, it's going to be. I also believe if you hit the middle, you also will get a whistling sound. I could be wrong, obviously, but this is what I think it is. Okay? So, but what the scholars say, the end of the tip with the bottom of the inner surface of the central incisors. Okay? Now, what's the difference between sin and zay? Vocal cords. Same as the ta and the stuff, right? What's the difference between sad and zay and sin? Huh? Yes.
Back of the tongue goes up.
Back of the tongue goes up. That's the actually only difference. In ta, there's actually a difference too. But this is the only difference for sad. The only difference is, you can say sad is a heavy sin. Okay? You cannot do a sin that's heavy without becoming a sad. A sad. Okay? Make sense? Okay. I'll do one more. And then next class we're gonna finish the lips. It's just a few letters, and then we're gonna start properties. I'll just do one more. We're just gonna finish the triplets, okay? Very important. Okay. I'm not gonna say the difference anymore. The difference with dha is the back of the tongue goes up, okay? The difference between the and that vocal cords. Hello? This area is clear? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So I'll just try to explain what is the makhraj, what is the place of articulation. What is the place of articulation? The tip of the tongue. Need to remember, when we said the tip of the tongue, it was a whole area. Let me come back to this because I use the tip of the tongue a lot. The tip of the tongue is a whole area. It's the whole area. It's not only just this part. Remember that all the time, right? That doesn't mean like go there, but I'm saying still the tip, right? Very important, huh? Okay. Okay. It's the tip of the tongue with the tip of the upper central incisors. F, L. Now, we said what is the difference between tha and dhal? Only vibration. So do not hit the upper central incisor harder. Do not say, do not like go hard on the central, do not go harder in your tongue. Like do not let the tongue hit the, no. Just add vibration, that's it. With the same level of pressure. Say, and then add vibration. You see that? So the actual sound does not come from the A. Obviously, you need some pressure. You need to hit the central incisor. But if you increase the pressure, it does not like make the vocal cords like much better, right? Obviously, you need pressure, but right? A lot of people, when they don't get the th sound properly, what do? They push harder on the teeth. No, stay there, stay there. Okay? Now, I want to say dha. What do I do? Dha is a heavy dhal. Dha is a heavy dhal. So what do I do? Back of tongue goes up. That's all it is. Dha is a heavy dhal. The back of tongue just goes up. So it's the same makhraj too. Exactly the same makhraj. So in the triplets, all of them exactly the same makhraj except ta. And the only differences between them is properties. Back of tongue goes up, vocal cords, yani air, not air. By the way, when I say vocal cords, the vocal cords, like air and not air, basically, right? But it's easier to see with the vocal cords, but we're gonna explain it later, okay? But the difference is vocal cords, no vocal cords, back of tongue goes up, back of tongue, but it's no difference in the place where you're hitting it. The place you're hitting it is exactly the same. Okay? Make sense? Okay, we're just gonna skim through what we said today quickly, and then we're gonna end, okay? Lam is too easy, I'm not gonna explain. Noon, ghunna. Ghunna is a sound that comes from a nose. That thing goes from the back and hits there. And we said a couple of techniques. Okay? Good? Ra, gap. Make the gap. Do one takreer. Ta, dal and ta. The tip of the tongue with the roots of the central incisors. And we talked about the differences. But even if you don't understand the differences, just care about the place of articulation. That we're worried about today. We're worried about the tip of the tongue with the roots, not the gum, with the roots of the central incisors. Sad and Zay and Sin, most people don't feel it. You're hitting the actual tooth, but the bottom part. Dha, Dhal and Tha, the tip of the tongue with the tip of the incisors hitting each other and meeting up. If you want to say Dhal, just add some vocal cords. And if you want to make Dha, the back tongue goes up. Make sense? Okay? Any questions? Okay. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم guys.